Good morning, everybody. It's a dog in the kennel on a Monday, the 17th of September, 2012. Another edition. I know you can't wait for this, for Weber on Sports. I hope you had a great weekend. By the way, it's supposed to be beautiful today on a Monday, close to 80 degrees. Enjoy it. Let me tell you something. You got plans for tomorrow on Tuesday? Change them, especially if they're outside. It's supposed to rain starting after midnight tonight. It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow. Heavy at times. So tomorrow is a soaker. So if you got plans for outside for Tuesday, make sure you make those changes today. Well, it's good to have you alongside. Let's go to the world of sports. Of course, I always talk about the librarian, Doogie Marrone. I'm not going to bore you with the fact that I've never been a big fan of his, but you know what? A win is a win is a win is a win. I had the opportunity to be at a social gathering with my boss, Jim Senecropi, who's working the controls of this show, being an SU grad. He had nervous moments there on Saturday evening or Saturday late in the afternoon. We went to a gathering at the country club. He kind of reminded me of an expectant dad. He was pacing as Stony Brook made this game a lot closer than the so-called pundits thought it would be. But Syracuse won the game. Give them credit. They came from behind. I guess I look back on the game. SU fans should not be getting excited about going to the national championship game. They've got a lot of work to do because I don't think they're still a very good football program. They make a lot of dumb moves. How about the catch on that kickoff when that kid caught it and went out of bounds? What's that all about? Let's talk about Stony Brook. Stony Brook looked great. They were throwing those play-action passes, 10, 15-yarders, going downfield with the 30, 40-yard bombs. They were very successful. And they had a darn good running game. What blows my mind is that they're leading 10-7 with 3 minutes to go in the first half at the Dome. They get the ball back. To be honest with you, it was 2 minutes, 57 seconds. They had been going up and down the field against the Orange defense. I could not figure out why the Stony Brook coach decided to play chicken football. He basically took the ball, told his quarterback, hand it off, run out the first half clock. Why? You moved the ball. You had momentum on your side at that point. You had the Carrier crowd thinking, could this be another score by Stony Brook? And they laid down, put the knee to the ground, ran out the clock. Whether Stony Brook would have scored if they tried to remains to be seen. But I thought that was a gutless move by Stony Brook. Syracuse, to their credit, came back in the second half and wins this game. Final score 28-17, I believe it was. So it's a win. So now they got their first win. They break their 7-game losing streak. And in my judgment, listen up very carefully. You know I'm not a big SU football fan, and I'm not a big Marrone fan. Don't come home from Minnesota with a loss this weekend. You go and play Minnesota. Minnesota Gophers, let me repeat, they're not a very good football team. They've never been a contender in the Big Ten. They're kind of an average, mediocre program. Syracuse football, if they're going to have a decent year this year, needs that W. Don't come home with a loss. I don't care if you win at 9-8. But you better win it. Because you know what? You got a bye after that, and then you got Pittsburgh. We'll talk more about the Pittsburgh college football team in a couple of minutes. But to me, this week's game is the most critical one of the season. You've got to beat Minnesota. Again, Minnesota Gophers. When I think of Minnesota, what comes to mind? Hubert Humphrey. Football, powerhouse, does not come to mind. Syracuse got to win that game at Minnesota. We'll talk about it next week. Let's see if they can pull it out. I got to tell you something. I was shell-shocked. USC Barkley comes back for a senior year to win a national championship. Of course, he still could win the Heisman. But they take on Stanford minus luck, and they lose. So much for coming back and trying for a national championship. See ya! As USC destroyed their national championship's ambition with an upset loss at the hands of Stanford. You know, I've been beaten up on poor Charlie Schaefer and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for the last few years. They just didn't excite me. I remember Notre Dame when they were really, really good. They haven't shown that abilities the last few years. And I don't know, I'm sort of mixed on Brian Kelly, the coach. But I must tell you, Michigan State has owned Notre Dame for the last few years. They have literally owned them. What happened this past weekend at Michigan State, ABC telecasted Saturday night, prime time. Notre Dame, to their credit, looked fabulous. They look like they got more athletic abilities. They look quicker to me. They got a couple incoming freshmen defensively that was swarming the Michigan State quarterback and their running backs. They looked phenomenal. Give credit where credit is due. Could this be a good to an excellent Notre Dame football team? Time will tell. But I got to tell you something. The dog was impressed by the Irish. They went into Michigan State and crushed the Spartans. No contest. That tells me a lot about that program. Let's see if it can continue. Well, speaking of Notre Dame and college football, we were just talking about Syracuse, in my judgment, needs to win the game with the Gophers this weekend. Why is that important? Because I thought they had an easy pass because the following week there's a bye. Then they take on Pittsburgh at the Dome. I think that's on a Friday night. Pittsburgh looked like a JV team in their first two outings. Dan Marino, former great quarterback for that team, probably was tossing and turning in his bed. But guess what? This weekend, did you check it out? They destroyed Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was ranked 17th in the country. Pittsburgh beat them by 18 points. So from a game that I thought was going to be a laugher for SU, hold your horses. Pittsburgh must have something as they destroyed Virginia Tech over the weekend. Well, let's talk about the NFL. Before you Bills fans start saying, the 12-year drought for playoffs is over, hold on. Let's do the association game. When I name a city or I name a particular name of something, I want you to tell me what first comes to mind. Here we go. Kansas City. Steaks. Not football. They're a horrible, horrible team. Could be the worst team in the NFL. Could be. The Bills ran through them, ran around them, ran over them. Nice. To you, Bills fans, you know I can't stand your team. I give you credit. But don't get too excited. They have got to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Kansas City. Let's see as the season continues. So I don't hold a whole lot of stock in that win. How about Arizona going to New England? How about that for a major upset? How about that kicker that had a chance for the field goal to win it for New England? He missed it 30 yards left. Looked like me from a chip shot from 30 yards when I missed the green 30 yards left from a 30-yard chip in front of the green. What's up with that? I thought it was blocked. He missed it by 30 yards. That was a shell shocker. I kind of like Dallas. I do. I'm a Cowboy fan, I got to admit. I'm a Raiders fan. Oh, they were ugly too. Oh, my Raiders. But I kind of like Dallas. I don't know why. I've always sort of had an affection for Dallas. Dallas comes into New York, beats the Giants. Jerry Jones, Dez Bryant, they all start yakking about how great they are. They go to Seattle. Okay, we're going to play the association game. What comes to mind when I say Seattle? Starbucks? Great. Not football. Seattle buries Dallas 27-7. What's up with that? How about the Rams of Scotty Trickler? The St. Louis Rams knocked off the Redskins. That's a major triumph. And I got to tell you something, folks. The Giants, yes, they won. But Tommy Coughlin, our number one hero up in Waterloo, only 3 miles away from our broadcast vantage point, will be preaching one word this week. Defense, defense, defense. They give up 34 to Tampa Bay. Yes, the Giants won. Yes, all you Giant fans should be happy. Remember I told you at the beginning of this show, a win is a win is a win? But you got to be looking at that defensive effort. 34 markers to Tampa Bay. They better work on that in a hurry. Well, let's talk about the world of baseball. First off, the Billy Tuberville. I understand he's in a witness protection program. I haven't seen Billy. He's a big Orioles fan. Billy, no doubt, is smiling wherever he is. But I got to tell you something. Give credit where credit is due. The Orioles are hanging tough, man. They're just clawing on those Yankees' backs. They won't let them up. As we start the new week, the Orioles 1 game back of the Yankees as we go down the stretch. 16, 17 left, depending on each team's schedule. Tampa Bay, with the losing to the Yankees 2 out of 3 over the weekend, they're 5 out. I'm not going to say they're dead, but they're close to being put in the casket. 5 out with only 15 or 16 to go. They need a semi-miracle. But, you know, you look at that situation with the Yankees and Baltimore as we go down the stretch, a 1-game differential, Yankees up by 1. One has to look at something that was kind of curious as I was Driving down the road yesterday, I was checking out the post-game interview with Joe Girardi after the Yankees beat Tampa. And a New York reporter asked him a question which kind of surprised me, but I could see where he was going with it. He said to Girardi, quote unquote, "Hey, Joe, in a couple of weeks, assuming you make the playoffs, is there any thought process that you would start Kuroda as your number one starter in the playoffs? Is that a slap in the face to the big guy, CC? Does CC stand for can't compete? What's up with that? Or does it stand for cow, chicken, collapse? What does C stand for? 4 miserable efforts in a row for the big guy. $27 million if you're keeping track. That's annual salary. I'm not so sure if you're a Yankee lover, which I know many of you are. You've got to be thrilled with CC Sabathia. He's the horse. He's the number one. Well, he was number one, but he's not pitching to that performance level. And you know what? Unless it changed the next week or two, I don't know how Jim would do it, but I know what I do. I would start Kuroda as my number one man. Good news for the Yankee fans. Pettit comes back tomorrow night against Toronto. But CeCe's got to start delivering for all the money he's being paid. Well, this goes out to my good friend Mike Cotillo up in Finger Lakes Times. Aura of Hall of Fame material that he does a great job, executive director or executive editor, whatever his title is. He's a good guy. Mike Cotillo. Been a Pittsburgh Pirate fan. So is my buddy Billy Owen up in Waterloo for many, many years. They've got a dubious mark working. 22 years in a row with a losing record. Pirates have been playing phenomenal. A few weeks ago, you couldn't fathom them not winning more games than losing. But hold the horses. Pittsburgh. As we begin a new week, Pittsburgh is 73 up, 72 down. Only a 1-game difference. I know this is sadistic, but it's the Weber style. Come on, let's lose a few more, baby. I want to see it 23 in a row. Go Pittsburgh. You found a way maybe to make it 23 straight years. And by the way, speaking of records, I didn't mention about Oriole fans. Your Orioles have done such a great job. You're going to have your first winning season. You can't blow this in 15 years. That's pretty impressive as well. Well, it's time for a commercial break. You're saying, thank God. We got lots more to talk about, including the National Hockey League. We got the glove working. We got a dollar bill to show you, and a whole lot more after these fine words. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Dog in the Kennel on a Monday, Weber on Sports Edition. Hope you're having a good one. Hope you're enjoying the show. I show this dollar bill for a reason here on Weber on Sports. No, it's not my monthly salary from Jim Senecropi. There'd have to be 2 of these. Just kidding. But in all seriousness, folks, let me tell you something. The reason I'm pointing this out, and this goes out to Nancy Parado because she was involved in this bet weeks ago. Several months ago, my good friend Chad Sanderson, you know Chad, he's a legend in town. Chad Sanderson and Sweet Lou Ferrara, we were talking about politics. And I said, well, looks like, this is several months ago, looks like it's going to be Romney versus Obama for the presidency of the United States of America. We all have a chance to vote November 6th. Don't forget to get out and vote. And Chad kept saying, no. At the convention, they're going to pull a reversal. Mitt Romney will not get the nomination, and it will not be Mitt the Fit Romney. I said, your guys are crazy. I told Sweet Lou and I told Mitt that it would be, I told Chad that it would be Mitt Romney. We made a little wager, $1 apiece. I said it would be Romney. They said it wouldn't be. See the dollar? Sweet Lou Ferrara, he did pay off a few weeks ago. He was late, but he paid off. Chad Sanderson, a.k.a. Deadbeat, paid off this morning. I collected it from Mary down at Jeremy's this morning. He wasn't there when I showed up, but he left $1, and it's got to Dog from Mitt $1. I want to know why it's only $1. He's made me wait 7 weeks. Should be another one attached to this one for interest. So if you see Chad Sanderson, tell him the Dog got his $1, and made it part of my show, and that AKA he is a deadbeat and he's a slow payer. He's still got his first quarter from Holy Communion, still in the white envelope, and he makes the dog wait 7 weeks to collect the buck. Chad, I hope you're checking out the show this morning as I make fun of you for being a deadbeat. Well, let's talk about the U.S. Open tennis tournament. I always find myself amazed, even to my level of insanity, that I can be wrong on about everything I say. If I told you that Jim Senecropi could not break 100, he'd go out and shoot 68 tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow because it's supposed to rain. But I picked Djokovic to win the U.S. Open tennis title, and guess what? Andy Murray wins from Britain. Is that amazing? You bet. When's the last time a Brit won a major tennis tournament? 1936. 1936 was the last time a Brit won a major tennis tournament. The dog picks Djokovic, Murray wins it. Just stay with me, baby. Whatever I say, go the opposite. You'll be a rich person. Speaking of rich, they go and they continue the golf tournaments this weekend. The FedEx continues. We're at the final leg. After this week, it's Ryder Cup, Medina, USA, Europe. But this week, they all get together, all 30 of them, top 30 in the FedEx points race. They will play at East Lake. They're supposed to get a lot of rain the next few days, so it might be lift clean in place. They're going to be playing at East Lake for the final tournament called the Tour Championship. Only the top 30 play. You want to talk about money? How's your checkbook? Last place. If you're number 30, there's no cut, obviously. Last place this weekend in Atlanta, 72 holes to play, $300,000. So if you finish 30th, you get a check for $300,000. Now, could we have a repeat of what happened to Bill Haas last year, who, by the way, did not make it this year? It's possible. If you win the tournament, and if you're in the top 5 of the points, like a Rory McIlroy and a Tiger Woods, I can't think of the other 3 right now, but still, if you're ranked in the top 5 going into East Lake this week and you win the tournament, you automatically win the FedEx. Why is that important? Because if you win the tournament and the FedEx, you know how much money they put in your trunk when you leave East Lake? $11.5 million. Isn't America great? $11.5 million you get. You get $1.5 million for winning the Tour Championship, and you get a $10 bonus for winning the FedEx. I hope you have a big car with a big trunk. Bill Haas took away $11.5 million scoots, and it could happen again this week. NBC and Golf Channel will have complete coverage starting at Thursday. I believe coverage will come on Thursday, 1 o'clock on Golf Channel Thursday and Friday. Then for the weekend, NBC has it from 2 to 6. Check it out. NASCAR, let's go to our Danica Report. The Danica Report is brought to you by the Ullmans, Bob and Leslie Ullman, who are big fans of Danica. And as part of my nature on this show, I always bring you a Danica update. I always said she should be working at a Red Barn or a KFC or a Wendy's instead of racing cars. But I'm told by people she's got style. She's got racing ability. Well, let's go and talk about Chicago. She finished 25th. That's not style. That's not racing ability. 25th, to me, is mediocrity. The winner, Brad Keselowski. He jumps out on the race. There's 10 races. He jumps out to the early lead. Brad Keselowski. And the Danica Report, once again, is brought to you by Bob and Leslie Ullman, who probably are wondering, why am I picking on them? Because they love Danica, and I'm not a big fan. I think the only reason she's in the car, her looks, her body, that's it. GoDaddy Go's got to wonder about all the money they're pouring into her car because she's not finishing, to me, to the impressive levels. Like maybe something kind of weird here, a top 10. You know, I got to tell you, there are certain things that really gall me, and I follow sports pretty closely, as you can tell. The likes of the National Hockey League. Let's talk a little bit about the National Hockey League. If you're a National Hockey League fan, I'm a Flyers fan. I go back to the days of the Broad Street Bullies. I kind of like watching NHL. I like the playoffs. I'm not a big regular season fanatic watcher. I do watch some of the action. But folks, the last CBA, collective bargaining agreement by the National Hockey League owners and players, as they call them, their board of governors, they stripped the players, took more of the cash off the table, advantage owners. Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the National Hockey League, got a deal which I never could figure out why the players went for it. They should have stayed out. They didn't. They got nailed. They got screwed. Now, a few years later, we're ready for more talks. They locked them out again because they're not coming to any agreement. Well, here's the bottom line from the Weber theory. And there's always theories. There's the Senecrope theory, and then there's the Weber mentality. My mentality, if I'm ahead of the Players Union of the National Hockey League, I leave the lights out for good. Turn them off. Turn them off on the way out the door. You know why? Think about it. If I and Jim Senecrope and our families are going to go watch a hockey game, do we go because of the owner? No. We go to see the players. The players make the National Hockey League. The players, most of them are super rich, have made a lot of money in their careers. Why not just say, the hell with you owners, catch a bus, there's one leaving in 20, be under it. Enough is enough. You want to take more of the money out of the players' percentage and take it to the owners because they're a greedy bunch of slobs. I say, forget about it. Turn off the lights in these auditoriums and these arenas. Say goodbye. Shut the complete year down. You know what, players? Get on a plane, go overseas. You're a National Hockey League player. You can play for any team around the world. I know the National Hockey League is the premier signature league. I'm not denying that. But what signature and national prominence would a hockey league have without the players? So don't go back. Keep the lights off. Play chicken. Don't back down this time. Strike. Stay out, stay out, stay out. Never go back until you get what you want. And oh, by the way, the last CBA, you got screwed. So get some of those chips back too. Ridiculous. I've been following that story from the last couple of weeks. These owners are a bunch of greedy pigs, and I hope the players finally stand up and be counted and say, enough already. We're not going to play for you idiots. We're going to take our act around the world. Sweden, Russia, go to Canada, go anywhere, but don't go back and let the owners rip you off again. I had to get that off my chest. It's been bugging me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in this tough economy situation, there are certain ways you can save money. If you're a golfer like myself, sometimes I shoot 85, sometimes I shoot 100, but I play golf. I want to show you this glove, and I want Jimmy to get a close-up. Now, this glove is a golf glove. It's a Wilson glove. I can't remember what I paid for it, but check out the texture of the glove. Notice the ripples of the glove in the fingers. Can you see that? Is that I'm holding it up correctly now? See that? You see that beautiful texture? See the holes in the glove? See that? The reason I'm showing that to you, now the backside of the glove is really not what you're worried about. That's in pretty good shape. I've had this glove, I'm going to say, probably 3 months, 3.5 months. You might wonder know why I haven't replaced it, because there's no need to replace it, because I have a very loose grip. And I'm going to show you this. Only on Weber on Sports we do this. I'm going to put it on. You notice, Jim can zero in it. There's no holes in the fingers. This is what paramount with a golf glove to me. I have a very loose grip. What would bother me and bug me to make me go get another glove is when there's a hole here. That would drive me nuts. As long as there's not an opening at the tip of these, I'm fine. See that? Ladies and gentlemen, do not throw away your gloves, throw them in a bag and go buy all these new gloves. It's not necessary. The Weber method, the Weber example shows you can use a glove forever and it still works, especially if you have a loose grip. Now, I'm sure you don't have a grip as loose as the dog. Nobody does. But let me show you something. That glove is fine. It doesn't look pretty. Steve Henry was really upset with me. I rode with him today, and he almost threw my glove out of his cart because he didn't like it in the cart because he said it was an ugly glove. It may be ugly, but it works. There you go, folks. Now, let me remind everybody, we got a lot coming up in the next few weeks here on FingerLakes1.com as I get ready to wrap this baby up. Coming up on the Dog and Paulie, my buddy Paulie Hellstrom will be in. Mark Reese, who's involved in the Young Morganti 3 scholarship fund, a young man we lost a few years ago, way too early in his life. They got the 5K race on October the 6th at Kids Park. Mark Reese, who's the chairman of the event this year, will join us via phone on Wednesday of this week. We'll talk about the Freddie Fund Mile and the 5K. We'll talk about what he's got going, how many he expects, a lot of that information. It's a great cause. So Mark Reese joins us via phone, first off, on this coming Wednesday for the Dog and Paulie. And then after we handle that phone call, we're going to be talking to Ted Novak, good friend of myself and Jim's. and a young man who I've never met before, Scott Redding, the athletic director at Minders Academy, our alma mater. We're going to talk about the capital project, how the funds have been dispersed, and how that beautiful enhancement up at Brockfield, and et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about all that. We'll also be talking to Ted about the Hall of Fame, which comes up 2 weeks from this Saturday, October 6th. Ironically, both Minders and Waldo have their ceremony on the same night. Waterloo's will be at Abigail's. Myself and Jim Centercrope will be live at the New York Chiropractic College, bringing you some interviews prior to the actual ceremony. And then, of course, Jim will podcast and webcast here on FingerLakes1.com live the complete ceremony from start to finish. So that's the great news for FingerLakes1.com. Why is that important? Because if you've got relatives out in the West or in Alaska and they can't come into Seneca Falls, they can click on FingerLakes1.com, push the button, and we'll be there. And Jim will have his microphones and everything set up, cameras set up, to show you the complete ceremony, the acceptance speeches, the applause, everything. So that should be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to doing that very special broadcast, the Minders Academy Hall of Fame inductee ceremony at the New York Chiropractic College 2 weeks from this Saturday, October the 6th. We wish all of those inductees the best of luck. They've deserved this recognition. In future shows the next few days, we'll be going through and talking about the names that will get inducted. As usual, folks, it's always a slice. If you see Chad Sanderson, call him a deadbeat, a slow payer from Weber on Sports. Take care, everybody. That's a look at sports my way.